Water was everywhere. Oiwa laogadis, oiwa hamajajadis. Water didn't know what to do. Underwater, uiledja, we were trying to find each other. Magadis, mahogants, she said, it was said. We dove, green-finned, found land, scooped it up with our mouths to bring to the surface. Ak hijada, ak letkida, ak gizada, ak kosada. But the water was ak, hokti, ak slopotes, hokti, im usla quijas. The woman passes through, changes in the water.
We are a state of contradictions with regard to water. As Texans, we show great pride in our heritage, our people, our bountiful natural resources, and our increasingly diverse economy, and we generally foresee a bright future for our great state. Water has been a key to our success as a state, and it is critical for our future. Unfortunately, Texas in many ways is failing to meet the basic definition of sustainable water management. Management that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs.
If population and water are related to each other, we need to be increasing the availability of water at a fairly significant and rapid pace. And if we don't do that, these cyclical droughts that we have are going to be more and more severe in terms of the impact on population. And that also has an obvious impact on industry and business.
While so much of Texas' well-being and economic strength is dependent on water, the supply has become stressed. Texas has experienced a recent population increase that will only continue to rise in the coming decades.
I would say that there's one huge problem that's largely being ignored across the state, and that is the sustainability of growth.
This influx of population is projected to lead to at least a 17% increase in water demand.
We've got a huge educational effort ahead of us to make sure people really understand the impact of water or the lack of water and what it would mean to us economically in the future.
Texas draws its water from a number of sources, including surface water, groundwater, water from reuse, brackish water, or rainwater harvesting.
Surface water on the one hand, rivers and lakes and those things you can see, and then on the other hand you have groundwater, which is anything underground.
Groundwater and surface water are the two main sources for municipal, industrial, and agricultural water use, representing over 90% of the existing water supplies across the state. The reliance on different water sources and combinations of sources varies greatly by water user category and geographic location. Statewide, surface water makes up more than 2/3, 8.8 million acre-feet per year, of the existing water supply for municipal, manufacturing, steam electric, and mining users. Surface water bodies continually interact with groundwater through runoff, seepage, and base flow movement of groundwater to streams and rivers. The exchange between groundwater and surface water can affect both water quantity and quality, as water levels experience more variability and dissolved contaminants and nutrients are passed from one to the other. This is further complicated by a key question. How do we determine the value of water versus the pricing of water?
One of the challenges we face in Texas is to continually increase Texans' understanding of the source of their water and the reason for protecting that water source.
The program we're working on right now is going to be much more advanced. It's really around the infrastructure improvements that we're doing and tied to a 10-year capital improvements program that accelerates rates along the way.
The issue is that most people don't consider the value added by water when they make pasta at home. In fact, most people don't think about the value of water at all until they start to argue over the importance of water, usually with a goal of directing some of that water to themselves.
There are times when there's plenty of water in the state, and we're feeling pretty good about watering our lawns and golf courses and not really managing the water very closely, and then there are times when we run into a drought, and when that affects where there's population concentrations, then all of a sudden we get really concerned about managing our water.
We did a cost of service study and rolled these numbers into it. Even over that 10-year period, our base rate went from about $17, and that's no water, you have to pay for your water on top of that, $17 to just under 30. And it really should be, probably after that 10 years, more around 60.
This increase in demand puts direct stress on the supply, while also impacting other factors due to growing urbanization.
Our population will double by 2050, so it's big now, but we'll be at over 50 million by 2050.
This will affect municipal, manufacturing, steam electric, and mining groups. Supply and availability of groundwater are both expected to decline, but at much higher rates than for surface water. This will affect mostly irrigated agricultural production, with some decrease of water for municipalities.
I think people just need to understand that we can either pay more for it or run out, and that's the bottom line.
Decreasing or altered water resources can mean less water and often at lesser quality.
Ag does use the majority of the water in the state of Texas. They've also made the greatest strides in conservation efforts. They've done the most to rein in the amount of water they use. That's primarily an economic function because their water is increasing in price, and we get right back to the cost of water.
On the supply side, the availability of both groundwater and surface water are expected to be altered at different rates.
We in Texas need to look at this for everyone.
Water is essential to all parts of a functional state. With respect to the public, clean water is needed for direct consumption, cooking, and cleaning. Water is crucial to much of Texas' economy and industry, commercial use, production of crops and livestock, mining for energy resources, oil and gas, and construction materials, generation of energy, and manufacturing of a wide range of products.
We have a new paradigm, and that goes straight to water pricing.
Price elasticity of pricing. You raise the price until people start slowing down using it.
Unlike other inputs, is usually sold at a price that covers the cost of delivery, not a price that ranks and reconciles different values by balancing supply and demand. The average spread of water fees in Texas cities ranges from less than $20 per month for a 5,000-gallon monthly user to more than $40 per month. In general, smaller cities in Texas pay more for their water than big cities because the cost of acquiring water is spread across fewer people.
This stuff is all based upon politics and years of relationships. And when there was plenty of water, it wasn't an issue.
The water supply is predicted to decline by around 11% by 2070, a loss of 1.6 million acre-feet per year, with much of this decline coming from the depletion of the Ogallala Aquifer and the Texas Panhandle.
Get away from the politics and start dealing with the science and hard facts and what people actually need.
The state owns the water in our streams and rivers and their alluvial, but charges almost nothing for using that water. While notable costs are often expended on necessary infrastructure for the diversion, storage, transportation, and treatment of the water taken from these water resources, the water itself is essentially a free good, available to be claimed by a permit applicant. The more water becomes a scarce resource, conservation and pricing will become critically important issues that lawmakers and governments need to tackle. Pricing can be a strong incentive for conservation. As water becomes more scarce, using prices to control consumption will need to become more acceptable, and political difficulties in the allocation and distribution of water based on its value and needs must also decrease. We can do better.
When a woman dives, makes changes under earth, the sound we hear is bubbling water. Hoktiji pislo ido, esagen im ochimis. The girl climbs into the wooden boat. This land, she says, is translation. Igana, beneath her, we were looking for earth. Tie up your ears, he said. I tied up my ears. But the earth, it was said, was returning to Wiwa. Owiwa hayayagin hijis, Owiwan akdegis. She sees a bright light, crosses the water. And all we had left were boats of dead wood, our homes and memories carried under waves.